Hello, good evening.
It's been a while. Good to see you.
It's quite some time now.
Yes, I'll hear your view shortly because you've written about this. I saw your comment on Facebook. Koku Mauli Nanadbe is the executive director of the Social Democracy and Development Dialogue Forum Africa. Koku, thanks for connecting.
Well, good evening.
I know you have a lot to say.
Of course, yes.
You have a lot to say. We'll get into that shortly.
Yes.
We are joined by some of our friends on Zoom. Isaac Boache is a social commentator, a graduate student, and a friend of the show. Isaac, thanks for connecting.
Yeah, Ernest, good evening. Thank you.
Great.
Hopefully you're able to have a good conversation.
Absolutely, we will. And Jibril Hamin is connected with us all the way from the US. Jibril is a software engineer. Hello, Jibril.
Hey, Ernest, great to connect.
Thanks for connecting. And we also have Marcel. Marcel is a man of many parts. He's a lawyer. He's a man of many parts, a businessman. He has some biology background. He's a farmer. And he travels around a lot, and so he's going to be really, very important for this conversation. Marcel, I'm grateful that you could connect with us.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And I want to start from the studio. Elvis, you wrote on Facebook this week, giving some suggestions on how the excavators can be used other than burning. But really, you had the lands minister ask the question, what is an excavator doing on the river body? He says we should start from there and answer that question.
And what were the institutions mandated to make sure that the excavators don't find themselves on the water body? What were they also doing? Because we have about 3 or 4 different institutions that are to make sure that our forest reserve, water bodies, and all this are protected. The question is, what were they also doing? You see, let's understand something. The argument is in 2 places. Legalities. I don't even want to go much into the legalities because that is for the courts to determine. But I am more concerned about the fact that, look, this is a country called Ghana. We all want illegal mining to stop. There's no doubt about it. Especially those that destroy the water bodies. Because water is life. Without water, it is difficult to live. And we are fighting Galamsey. We want to make sure that we stop it. The question I ask myself is, if it is the excavators that are causing the mass damage that we are looking at, and we are fighting this and want to stop, and the state has power by law to seize all the excavators that they find involved in illegal mining, the question is it the best thing to do to ban that excavator? You see, if we are not logistically prepared to be able to move the excavators to places, we should admit it. That probably we are not logistically prepared.
Well, that has been said in part, that it will take a lot more to bring these excavators from the deep forests in which these illegal miners are operating. And so if you do the analysis, you are better off banning them.
If we're able to take it there, we can take them back. That is the point.
So government didn't take it there. The illegal miners found a way.
I'm not saying government take them there. I'm saying that if Ghanaians took them there, government can take them back to wherever it wants to. You see, let me tell you, excavators, okay, the first point I want to make is, if we were really serious about fighting this Galamsey, after we get rid of the people from doing the work, it's just the beginning. Reclamation is the big job that you do. In the process of reclamation, the first thing you are going to be doing is to fill the pits that the Galamseyers left behind. What do you need? You need an excavator to do it. Are we saying that we want to ban the excavators, and when it is time for reclamation, we'll spend public money to go and rent excavators or buy new ones to be able to do that? I don't think that is the way to go. Because now you are having access to the excavator free. You didn't buy it. Private people bought it. By law, you are confiscating it to the state. So it becomes your asset that you can use for so many things. So first of all, it's about reclamation. We still need excavators in that role. Number 2, look, the first infectious disease center in Ghana was constructed by the private sector fund. But the people who actually did the actual construction of the 48th Engineers Regiment of the Ghana Armed Forces, they delivered the project less than 6 months. 100-bed facility was delivered less than 6 months. Yeah. Soldiers built it from the scratch. These soldiers, that unit has built bridges across this country. There are several communities now that we are entering the rainy season will be cut off from the rest of the country because rivers will flow and cut their roads because the roads are not in that good shape. All they need is for an excavator to dig so that they can put in a culvert and cover it for the excavator to cover so they can have access. Are we saying that if we give this excavator to the military, spray them in camouflage colors and say, look, government has set aside this amount of money that the rural communities will be cut off by rains. Let's send Ghana Armed Forces around to do this and provide covers and make the roads more trouble for the people. Are we saying that that will not be more profitable to Ghanaians than burning the excavators? Look, we pay money, huge monies, to get the Odo River desilted every year, right? What they used to desilt? If you pass by, you see a lot of excavator at the place when work is being done. Are we saying that if we had taken these excavators, they become government property? And we say, look, let's just position them along the Odo River. And that, let's say, at least every month, somebody should just go and put fuel start and then desilt. Will Odo not be cleaner than it is today? Will we be spending money to do this?
We travel this path, and I want to bring in Koku here. Koku, we travel this path. We seized excavators. Today, we know that some of it went missing. The security agencies are supposed to be investigating. In order not to compromise the fight, is it not a more practical approach to burn it where you found it, rather than bringing it, the cost of it, and then having some people, misappropriate it?
Well, Ernest, I do not think it is practical, but thanks for an opportunity on our show. But I will want to put this issue in a certain context, maybe proper, if I could put it so.
Yeah.
You see, this discussion that we are having, you realize that government with officials who are lawyers are the ones who are pushing for illegality and lawful actions and all of that. They are the ones promoting it, whereas a chunk of us who are not non-lawyers, and in fact, out of the conversation that I keep hearing, lawyer Samson Ladi Ayenini is one key lawyer that I've heard so far as a lawyer who has also spoken and indicating that he's against the destruction of excavator or mining equipment in general. So that is an irony in itself as far as we are concerned, because if you listen to government officials, I mean, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Abu Jinapo, he's a lawyer. Listen to Kojo Opon Nkrumah, Minister for Information, he's a lawyer. And they are the ones who are championing the impunity. I mean, you sit back and think about it, you are at a loss. I have just concluded on that one that David, the General Legal Council has a lot, to do on that front.
You want the General Legal Council to take them on?
No, but it's curious. Because you see, I sit back and I ask myself, so what has been taught at law school? Because they have to be setting the example for us to follow. But they are the ones championing the impunity. But I'm saying that these things, I've seen two things out of it. That it's maybe because we have power, and so we could do anything with the power that we have. The second one is that maybe let's employ sophistry. Let's be the one to go out there and engineer discussions, lead discussions, and let people come along with us. And I think these are the two things that are influencing some of the conversation we have heard them pushing, even though unconvincing. But I've asked a certain question somewhere, that you see, if you are challenged with a situation like we have seen, the illegal mining fight is no joke. I will not sit here and create a picture as though it's an easy fight. It is not at all. But I am saying that government in itself is powerful. And that is why we have laws, because government itself wants the right things to be done. And so we have laws regulating the sector. If you take the Act, for instance, that regulates mining and minerals in this country, Act 703, in fact, amended, now Minerals and Mining Act 2015. You see, the first one, there was no inclusion of Section 99 that says how to even manage, or if you arrest somebody who is involved in illegal mining, what to do to the person, the equipment, the products, what to do with those things. It has taken professionals to sit to devise a means as to how to go about it. And here we are saying that we are challenged, that what the question is, what are those excavators doing at river banks What are they on the river doing and all of that?
Koku,
So
all these
let's
laws that you cite, the
yes.
people who are championing the burning are
Yes.
not oblivious of it. But they have been there in the first phase of the fight under this government. They have seen the challenges, and they are saying that to be able to deal with this, and you heard the lands minister say, it's either we are dealing with it or we are not.
And I'm saying that they may make that claim, and I am saying that the action they are taking will not give us the results. Why? We have burnt excavators, and this one, if you see the legitimate small scale miners, they will tell you that we have burnt excavators before, we haven't gotten results. Those group of people, they've made laudable, pragmatic suggestions. Nobody is listening to them. They said they want to be part of the fight. Just give them, include them, and they will show you what to do. And one of the suggestions they make, for instance, even though we come in, they said they know the routes, for instance, the illegal miners take the excavators and all of that. They know where they take fuel. So they are prepared to help so that you break the front. The excavators will not in the first place get to the mining site.
But they're supposed to be part of the fight. They have been to the dialogues. The minister says
yes.
he's met them many times.
The conversation levels, they are there. Operation Halt, have you seen any of the small scale miners being part of Operation Halt? They would have led the team elsewhere, but nobody is listening to them. That's what I have a problem with. But I'm saying that to say that it is that we are either dealing with the illegal mining and burning excavators or not, I disagree.
Masay has an input here. Masay is joining us on Zoom. Masay, what is the input that you have on this one? Hello, Masay, can you hear me? You have to unmute your device. You have to unmute your device so we can hear you.
All right, great. So there is something the last speaker said. It was actually in the form of a question, and that made me want to make a little input. He asked what it is that we are taught at the law school. And I think it is because prior to this discussion, we had 4 inserts played. And coincidentally, of all the 4 inserts that were played, they were all lawyers. So you have the Lands and Natural Resources Minister being a lawyer, asking what are excavators doing at mining sites. Then there is also the Minister of Information, who is also a lawyer. But both of them seem to be on one side. And the other 2 lawyers, Dr. Yao Graham, who is a senior lawyer, and Samson Ladi, who is a classmate and a colleague, they said that let's tackle the law. And in response to what the question the last speaker said, that what is it that we are taught in the law school? Look, we are taught a lot of things. And one of the things that we are taught is in environmental law. And there's the principle of polluter pays. So in the event that, let's say you found excavators, I understand they cost so much, on some site, if you had an order and got a court to confiscate these, and then the court made consequential orders that the land that you have defaced, go on and rectify or remedy the damage that you have done or caused to the environment, and you fail to do that, or you do not have the capacity to do that, imagine the situation where we have confiscated your weapons or your equipment, we auction or sell them and use the proceeds or even the machinery itself to level or bring the environment back to where it ought to be. In all sincerity, this belligerent situation about, yes, let's burn them, let's destroy and everything, I mean, because they kept coming back, really, you don't accuse the well of being too deep when it is your rope that is actually too short. No matter the vehemence and abhorrence to rectifying this menace, we still have to go by the law.
And
So
when you
example,
say you don't have to accuse the well of being too deep, you are, in other words, saying that those
You don't-
responsible
it's-
for the what caused the initial what caused that in the first fight, for which reason we did not succeed, those people should be held
Exactly. And you
accountable.
yes, and you see, Ernest, what I said is premise. It's a Mandarin proverb that says that you don't accuse the well of being too deep when it is your rope that is so short. Why do I say so? Not many years ago, or probably a couple of months ago, there was this onslaught where we had Aisha 1 put before court. The process was going on. Everybody was excited. Who was it that issued the nolle prosequi? And then one fine afternoon, Aisha 1's case is called. Instead of prosecution to go on with the work, prosecution comes up and throws in the towel. And within the next couple of hours, Aisha 1 is on Ethiopian Airlines, first class, flew up to Addis Ababa and out. So you think that another time you would want to go harass or pick up another Ghanaian when you caught someone who was deep neck in this, and then you want to rally everybody for this renewed fight again?
Marcel, hold on for me there.
Don't accuse the well.
Hold on for me. Let me pick the brain of Jibril on this one. Jibril, you hear Marcel lay out all this. I guess the legalities and the prosecution a bit cumbersome. That is why the government says, look, let's ban it. After all we want to see our water bodies clean. We want to have a cleaner environment and want to mine responsibly.
Yeah, Ernest, thank you. So I think there's a different dimension that we probably may not be looking at this issue, and I want to raise that. If you recall, 2 years ago, there were excavator seizures. I think there were burning of a few, but at some point, we got to know that close to 400 or so excavators were seized, but they went missing. I mean, and that led to the flying excavator, kind of analogy in Ghana. And during that time, there was no complaint about the cost involved in seizing excavators is more than the cost of seizing them. So, I mean, the bigger picture, that I think the angle at which I think we should look at this is that either government is grossly being incompetent, or government is deliberately obfuscating matters and actually seizing excavators, burning a few in order to steal the excavators as they did 2 years ago. That is the angle I think we need to pay some close attention to. It cannot be said that I was just checking, what is the cost of an excavator? It ranges between $100,000 and above, to up to like $500,000. Who in his right senses will tell you that if you took a vehicle loader and drive to a Galamsey pit, fuel that, hire a driver, we are already sending military men to these mining sites. And so you send that and then actually carry that excavator, put on the loader and drive to Accra or wherever. The cost in doing that is more than the price of the $100,000 to $500,000 excavator. How does that make sense? That is why I think we need to look at that angle. I think that we may be watching a movie where a few excavators are being burnt on television, and we all have this agreement, they are burning excavators. But in actual fact, seizing excavators and appropriating to themselves, as they have done 2 years ago. It doesn't really make sense that Ghana, a country where, I mean, where I come from, Ketunof, a town, Fenny, in Ketunof, there is a road from my town to the next town, Ehi, which is a rough road, and the people have cried for this road to be tarred for several years. And let me tell you what, when you use they bring excavators occasionally to just level that road, people are so happy, even if it's not tarred. And I'm sure all of us on this call and Ghanaians can relate to so many circumstances across the country where such roads exist. All you need, actually, the people of those towns, the indigenous of those towns, will be even willing to pay for fueling and pay for drivers to drive those excavators just to clear up the roads in those towns and villages. And in this kind of country, we hear government tell us that they don't have a choice. They've thrown their hands in the air, and the only thing they can do is to burn $100,000 to $500,000 edifice because they don't have. I think that this government has in several times shown us that they are smarter than that. And I am not going to believe that burning thing. Now, I want to tackle, and so we know this burning thing is a non-starter. It's nonsensical. It doesn't make sense, and the government shouldn't be doing that at all. We know in Ghana where there is a need, government has been able to quickly make laws that make things that is in government interest pass within overnight. If the laws of Ghana, is so cumbersome to seize excavators, so government thinks that we need to pass a law where when we see an excavator in the red zone, it's automatically seized. That law can be passed within a night or a day or a week.
So you are talking of some legislation to back the burning, which many people disagree with, by the way.
No, not the burning. I'm saying that some arguments I've heard is that when you seize the excavators, the owners find a way to get it because Ghana laws may not be good enough to seize the excavators. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the details about that. But I'm saying is that if that is the case, Ghana can pass laws that says seizure on site. Immediately you see an excavator in a red zone, it becomes a government property. And government can, in fact, as a previous contributor
I think that the laws as we have it deals with that extensively. Jibril, I'll return to you. I want to go to Isaac, who is also connecting with us on Zoom. And Isaac, you have said that the situation we are discussing is very symptomatic of how we deal with problems in this country. Explain that.
I think, good evening once again. I think when you look at our history, we have a path to finding simple solutions to very complex problems, because one speaker said that we all agree that Galamsey is a problem that we have to deal with. But I guess if we all agreed it was a problem, there wouldn't be people involved in Galamsey. And if you even held a national survey amongst the communities where Galamsey is heavily carried out, I don't think you would have a popular report that says that we should stop Galamsey. But when there's a problem, like Kaswa youth, the two teenagers killed somebody, everybody within a few hours narrowed down the solution to stopping Nana Agrada from having a program on TV. When Kalabule was happening, people felt the solution immediately was either to let the blood flow or break down Makola. And these things happen all the time. And that's why we keep on coming back to the same problems without having any solution. But especially in this case, I think even when you listen to the other speakers, I get the feeling that, one, if the excavator was going to be seized and put to some form of public use, then it is all right. The second feeling I get is that, well, if we're able to put it in our laws that it is okay to seize people's excavator on site without subjecting them to any form of a fair hearing, then it is okay. But those two thoughts in themselves are part of the problem that we have in the country. Because you have a system where we always believe the outcomes should matter. So, for example, we can solve global poverty by simply killing all poor people. But that is not the solution that we want, because when you are talking about solutions and comparing things, you also have to look at the cost of the solution. And I think that in this instance, the cost of fighting Galamsey is too high, because, listen, there are bigger things that happen in, like, there's a bigger fight that is more important than the fight on Galamsey. That is the fight for the constitution, and also the fight not to feed into the Messiah complex of the military. When the minister said that, asked what will an excavator be doing on a river body, and said the military have their own methods of enforcement, one, it was coming from a place of frustration because they've tried a solution before and it didn't work. And so they simply don't have an idea of how to deal with it. But when he said the military have their own methods of enforcement, it was feeding into a military Messiah complex, because all over the world, whenever the civilian government has a problem, the first people to try to jump in to calm matters are the military. And this idea that the military is the one to come in to calm matters, it cuts across. Even citizens have become so used to it that when we have a problem, we always call on the military. What do the military keep on doing in those instances? When they take power, they never give it back. The military has a history of excesses whenever they've been given any form of authority. And so even for me, as a supporter of the New Patriotic Party, I would be very concerned, given our history with the military, that we would be giving them power to become judge, jury, and executioner. because these powers that you are given, you don't know how to take it back, and you don't know the kind of excesses that will come with it. So,
hello, Isaac. We seem to have lost Isaac there. Isaac, try and reconnect with us again if you can work the line so we can have Isaac back. But Isaac made a point about Galamsey not being the biggest problem we should be tackling as a country. And Elvis, you disagree with him?
Totally. How can you say that? We are talking about source of drinking water. Is he really serious about what he said? Does he understand the importance of water in our lives? Do you know you can stay without food for 5 days, but you cannot stay without water for 3 days? Who can survive without water on earth? What are we talking about? Where will the forest be? Where will human and animal lives be? Where will fishes be? Please, let nobody deceive anybody that the fight against Galamsey is not as important. Look, if we have any fight, the biggest fight is protect our water bodies. Look, life on earth primarily depends on water. Without water, life on this earth will cease.
So Isaac is back on the line. Maybe he wants to clarify that.
It's not the most important. What is he talking about?
Saying,
How can we survive this country without water if the water bodies dry out?
Let's hear from Isaac. He wants to clarify the point. Isaac, we lost you there.
What he's saying is classic reductionism, and I'm not surprised. But you see, there's a reason if there's an autocratic regime, the people will still fight for democracy when they're able to express themselves. It's because despite water and food being very important, we understand that for the preservation of the nation state in itself works on a framework. We have chosen that a constitutional democracy is the framework on which we should survive. And that constitutional framework protects all other parts of how the nation state is governed. So if you believe in an act that destroys that belief in the rule of law, and the central government enforces jungle justice, you are justifying enforcement of jungle justice by citizens wherever they find themselves. Captain Mahama and others have been and faced such predicaments. So when I say that there are fights that are bigger than the fight of the Galamsey, I mean the fight to preserve the framework of the nation state is more important than the fight to preserve a water body, especially at the cost. But second thing is that nobody can convince me. No, listen, let me finish. Nobody can convince me.
I guess he's speaking within the context of how we solve our problems.
I'm finding it difficult to understand
that
Isaac's
more important
position.
is than fighting to protect water bodies. It's not right. My brother, I can tell him that because we have a constitution that we think they are defective and we need to correct, or somebody is breaching a certain part of the constitution, it is more important than water. It cannot be the case.
Elvis, nobody can convince me that somebody who believes burning water, a burning excavator on a water body itself and leaving it there is so much concerned about the environment. Nobody can even convince me of that. So there's a way to look at these things, and we must task government to always find proper solutions to complex social problems rather than let the blood flow, burn excavators, stop Nana Agrade's TV station. Those are never the solutions to dealing with complex social issues.
And I'll return to you, Koku, just a minute. I'll come back to you on how we should deal with this. But I guess the point Isaac is trying to make is that this issue and the issue of ban or do not ban is just representative of how we deal with issues in this country. And the point is making about, I mean, you disagree with the example that he cited.
The example he gave is wrong. I agree with him that
but in substance,
we
you
try
agree.
to look for shortcuts
exactly
to problems. Sometimes some of the shortcuts we take are even illegal. That I agree with him. But to say that fighting to preserve our water body is not as important as those kind of, it is wrong. Okay, because if you're not alive, how are you going to protect the constitution you're talking about? And water is life. So he can give any other example. I agree with him that we shouldn't be taking shortcuts, some of which even breaches the very law we have agreed to govern ourselves with. That I agree with him. But the example he cited really does not fit into that narrative. So that's why I disagree with the example. But I agree with him that we shouldn't be using shortcuts to solve problems. Because when we do that, if we break the law, we cannot use an illegality to resolve an illegality. Yeah. I don't see how we can use illegality to resolve an illegality. So I will not back any illegality. But as I said, my focus is more on the issues of the benefit the state can put the excavators to, rather than thinking about even law. Because sometimes if you follow the law, you may not even get the kind of benefit you get if you apply what I am talking about. Okay, we call NADMO to come and fix a problem in terms of disaster. Sometimes they come there, they have no equipment. Sometimes when they go, they need even excavator to dig some place and they don't have it. Do you know, we are not being told how much is being invested in terms of the fight against Galamsey. Are we saying that if this excavator have even been auctioned, the money couldn't have been used to pay part of the expenses we are making on the military to fight the Galamsey? So I am convinced that we can put the excavators to better use than just burning them. That one, there is no two ways about that. But I see, in terms of the short solutions to our problems in this country, it's a very good conversation, but I think that this is not the time. I think we need to have a whole conversation on why our progress is even slow. Because see, I was having a conversation with somebody the last time, and I mentioned SADA. And I said, if you look at the objectives of SADA, you cannot convince me that those are not good objectives. But because we had implementation challenges, the entire SADA project ended. Instead of us looking at it, it is human beings we gave it to implement. If they failed or did the wrong thing, let's get rid of those who did the wrong thing and get that good idea going.
But there are laws to deal with that. But there are laws to deal with that. And so if you say that perhaps we shouldn't necessarily look at the law, but how appropriately we can use the excavators, that in itself will...
There are two angles to the debate, the legal angle and the social benefit angle. I am more focused on the benefit to society, socially and financially, rather than the legal angle.
Elvis, I'll come back to you on what we should do, on what we should do going forward. If government will perhaps listen to this conversation that we are having and what citizens are saying. But Gills is with us also on Zoom. Gills, what's your take on this debate?
Okay, good evening to everyone. So I think I would side with pieces of everything that has been said by co-panelists, if I can call them that way. There is a need for us to first of all understand that, yes, indeed, Galamsey is a problem. It's not a problem just for those people who live close to those areas, but even for us who live, in the so-called urban areas that are far from the site and everything. If water is affected in the Volta region or in the Eastern region or in the Western region, it will get to a point where you in Accra will start drinking such polluted water. So you need to understand, and I think there's an agreement from all quarters that Galamsey is a problem. But now, how do we deal with it? Personally, I think I will stand from the point that there is no need burning the excavators. Not because, we didn't want to punish the people, but there are ways of punishment. And another way of punishing these people would have been to retrieve these assets, because they are assets, right? There are so many rural areas in this country where you just put one single of these excavators and the lives of the people will change because they will get better roads. They are not even asking for the road to be tarred, just to clear the roads, right? So these assets were bent. We turned assets into liabilities. They are liabilities to the state. They are liabilities to the environment. Because as it stands now, because they are bent, we have no use to them, and they have polluted the environment in the process. The same environment we are supposed to be protecting or fighting to protect. So my stand would go, in line with that of my predecessors in the conversation. There was actually no need burning these excavators. We could have taken them, given them maybe to feeder roads, or to the Ministry of Agri, or there are so many institutions in this country that need those excavators, right? And we just burnt them. We sent people to burn them. We paid those people. We lost the excavators. We polluted the environment, and we still haven't solved Galamsey in Ghana.
Let me answer a straightforward question. If at the end of the day we have our water bodies cleared, we have our lands restored, would it not justify the burning of the excavators?
Let me return the question in this way. Would the burning of the excavators alone fix the problem? No. From our point of view, it will not. And we would all agree that we would have made more keeping these excavators and making them government property or asset to the state than just burning them. We are all here, and when I say we, I mean all humans now, talking about climate change, fight for the environment. But when you burn those excavators, it actually contributed to climate change or the impact on the environment. You burnt, and you burnt in I think in a forest area, right? So I mean, the whole understanding is becoming very rustic, and I'm not really getting it. This is not the Ghana we should be living in 2021.
Well, a lot of you have been joining the conversation on social media, and Kweku is here to tell us what you've been saying. What are people saying on social media?
Right, so Ernest, a lot of comments. Divided house. This one from Benin Yakubu on Facebook says, yes, I fully support the action because it will help reduce corruption and the experience we had from the beginning of this fight somewhere in 2017. Isifu Adama says, no, they are hiding behind burning of excavators for their failure. They have lost control of the fight. Mona David says, a brand new excavator is about 14 billion old Ghana cedis. It can build a full school block for our children. So if you burn 49 of them, multiply the cost. Burning is not the best. Gau Saku Ganga says, I support it. The president can only trust the lawyer ministers on this. It doesn't make anyone below that, and this makes sense to me. Let me take some comment from Twitter also. This one says, I support the burning of the excavators. One, because they will go missing when they are seized. And two, because moving them from places will be difficult, if not impossible.
Let me take this one here. It says, this from Karim. It says, our government is an interesting one. It says it cannot trust itself to not be in recidivist in the fight against illegal mining. It seems overwhelmed, but it's kleptocratic in nature to the extent that it engages in a show of public destruction. It goes like, here, see, I'm destroying it in your presence because you leave me alone with it. I cannot trust myself to do what is right. Okay, I get the point you're making, Karim. And now you agree with him.
Of course. A good idea badly implemented does not make the idea a bad one. That is the picture we are being painted now, that because the first one had a problem because those in charge betrayed the trust of the president, it means that the second fight too, we fear that the new people will also behave like the first one, and therefore let's burn it. A good idea can never become a bad idea because those implementing it took wrong decision or did not do the right thing.
Let's wrap up on this quickly. Let me start with you, Koku. What should we be doing?
Yeah, if you ask me, there must be a conversation. I'm taking it from where Isaac left off. You see, in as much as we are having this conversation, it is government's responsibility to be taking the point and be synthesizing the most important, actions to be taken. And so we'll have it, varied reasons, but government must synthesize. But you see, in as much as we are having this conversation again, let's remember that distractions of those excavators, we are likely to face judgment debt. As we speak, there is a judgment debt of $50 million that government of Ghana have to bear. And there are others that we are
because of the burning of excavators.
I'm telling you, just within these 4 years, there is a $50 million judgment in dollars, close to 80 million Ghana cedis that we have to pay. And you have heard Kejamfo and Co saying that they also earn extra good, that they are going to court. The likelihood that will incur more judgment debts are there. So why don't you take up or seize those equipment, give them out for the use of 48 engineering regiments, the metropolitan municipal district assemblies, so that in an event that judgment comes, you can even just find your way out and give back those excavators to owners. Otherwise, it will be double jeopardy.
Jibril, just 1 minute.
Yeah, so I think that my last take on this is that there is international, blueprint for government to follow. In matters like this, in Brazil, the issue of burning excavators, bulldozing people, sending military and all that has been done in Amazon forest for several years. They couldn't find solution. At some point, the tribesmen in the forest were flown to the capital to have conversation and all that. There's no solution. In Peru, the same. And in fact, in the whole of Latin America, the same. The point is, Canada there's a lot of minerals in Canada, in the USA, in Australia, and there's mining going on in these countries, but they are not having this kind of problems. What is the commonalities between Ghana and the countries in Latin America? There's no adherence to laws. There's low appetite for enforcement of laws. There's high corruption, unemployment, poor, weak economies. That's what's common with Ghana and these countries that are trying the same thing that they have tried several years and not succeeded. But if compared to the USA and all that, of course, there's crime everywhere, but laws are enforced. So if we want a lasting solution to this, we should be enforcing laws. We have very good laws on our books. We should keep enforcing them. Do critical thinking, triangular thinking, so that we can solve this problem once and for all, instead of the knee-jerk reaction that will give a political capital for a few years. And then when you burn these excavators, I can tell you, in 4 years, 5 years from now, we'll be having this discussion.
Marcel, let me hear you in 30 seconds.
Very well. So mine is an admonition, especially to the key leaders of this fight. We appreciate the efforts and the renewed energies, but no matter how hungry you are, you don't eat with both hands. So please, let's hasten cautiously, follow due process and the law, as the senior lawyers had said, because the young man may know the rules, but the old always know the exceptions.
Thank you very much.
So please,
Isaac.
let's put this together and win this fight.
I think.
Yes, Isaac, let's hear you. 30 seconds.
I'm going to end by admonishing those who believe this is a solution, that Galamsey is such a high profit business where some people make as much as $100,000 a day, that burning an excavator is not stopping the person. It's just a minor setback. And these people will be out there with bigger money to buy more excavators. So think longer term in solving the problem. Thank you.
Elvis, 30 seconds.
If we don't know much about mining, Dr. Yao Graham has been an advocate in the sector for decades. I think government is doing the right thing by fighting Galamsey, but they need to listen to voices like Dr. Yao Graham and those who have been in this fight for decades. It will be helpful for government.
Elvis, thank you. Koku, thank you very much. And all of you connected via phone, on our WhatsApp platforms and on social media. My name is Ernest Manu. Locker Room with George Ado Jr. is up next.